Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Let's get on to PIB dated 15th, 16th and 17th of December 2019. There were not many press releases, so I have compiled them all into one, so let's begin. The first press release was about the launch of National Broadband Mission. So ministry's name is important. It is by Ministry of Communication. Mission is National Broadband Mission, and basically here the aim is to provide the broadband coverage to all the villages of the country, and that too by 2022. So look at the keywords here. It's not entire country, it's all the villages in the country by 2022, not by 2025 but by 2022. This is important. All villages by 2022. That's it. Further, so many of details are given here, but these are not important. So basically broadband here means to lay the optical fiber cable and improve a lot of things, improve the density of the tower per se, and all the good thing that you can think of would be done under this very program. So for example, here broadband readiness index 2 would be launched, and tower density would be increased to 1.0 tower per 1,000 population by 2024. Not very important. What's important is just two things: ministry's name, mission's name, and the broad target, and this is it. Moving on to the next PIB, which is about there being passage of an act by parliament which has received the presidential assent now. So the bill has become an act, and the name is Recycling of Ships Bill 2019. So definitely it's the bill now, that is Recycling of Ships Bill 2019. So basically, why has the government of India passed this bill? Because India has recently acceded to Hong Kong International Convention for safe and environmentally sound recycling of ships. We have already studied in depth about the Hong Kong International Convention, so I really am not going to explain what this convention is all about again. So we'll stick to the new things now. So basically, as per this very bill, this would do what? So this would, number one, restrict and prohibit hazardous materials being used in ships manufacturing. Does not matter if the ship is meant for recycling or not. This is not the criteria. Either way, broad point is there shall be no usage of any hazardous material for manufacturing of a ship. Number two is that definitely if some ship is to come into existence yet, then ship has to comply with the provisions of this very act, and the ships that has already been manufactured, they have to comply the provisions of the act within 5 years. This too is important. Number three is this point, which is little bit unique and important as well, wherein the act states that the restriction or prohibition on use of hazardous material would not to be applied to warships and non-commercial ships operated by government. Definitely, if government of India is doing any business, that is a commercial ship is operating, then that ship has to comply with the provisions of this very act. But if it is with regard to warship or non-commercial ship owned or operated by government of India, then this prohibition onto the usage of hazardous material would not be applied on these two things. This is very, very important. We are done with this, although we have not gone into detail of what Hong Kong Convention is. The reason being, I have already covered it. Third one is this: annual eclipse of the sun on 26th of December. So basically, we have to understand what exactly is the solar eclipse. Then we'll move on to annual eclipse. So solar eclipse, I'm sure we already know. It is when the moon comes in between the earth and the sun, and also they are all in the straight line. So when they are all in straight line and moon comes in between earth and the sun, then people on earth cannot see the sun clearly, and this is what we call as solar eclipse. Please memorize this very point. This has to be very, very clear. Also, what is annual solar eclipse? So basically, this occurs when the angular diameter of the moon falls short of that of the sun. So we know moon size is smaller than that of the sun, and when moon tries to cover sun, moon's angular diameter falls short of that very thing that is needed to cover the sun in its entirety, in such a manner that a small ring of the sun, it remains visible around the moon. So this is how what we call as the annual solar eclipse. First of all, we should be clear about the solar eclipse, and the second of all, we just have to understand that moon's diameter may be not wide enough to cover the sun in its entirety, so that a small disk remain visible around the moon. It remain glowing, and this is what we call as the annual solar eclipse. Alright. Apart from understanding, there is a thing about cramming as well, because in the examination hall we can just end up recalling the entire thing. These things have to be quick. Further, it is just a precaution that the PIB has talked about, that the eclipsed sun should not be viewed with the naked eyes. We all know this thing already, even for a short time. It's not like let's just see it for 1 second or 2 seconds. No, even not for the short time. One really don't need to look at the sun when it's a solar eclipse. Also, it will cause a permanent damage of the eyes and leading to blindness, even when the moon covers most portion of the sun. So how could one observe the solar eclipse? Safe technique to observe the solar eclipse is either by using the proper filter like aluminized mylar, black polymer, welding glass of shade number 14, or by making projection of sun's image on a white board by telescope. Alright. Now this is something which is there, that annular path passes through all these countries: Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, UAE, India, northern part of Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Singapore, Sumatra and Borneo. What we have understood by naming all these countries is that these are located at the vicinity of the equator, towards the near the equator, not towards the extreme north or the southern side. These countries all fall near side the equator. So this is something we have understood from this point, although I really don't know how important this thing is, that the annual path of this annual solar eclipse passes through these many countries. But either way we have covered it, and also I will not be editing this very PIB, so those of you who are really interested into knowing the entire thing can read this thing on your own as well. Further, this is the last PIB, which is by Ministry of Culture. This is about the Sahitya Academy Awards. Very, very important. Even though question may be asked, may not be asked, but it is good to cover it. It gives the confidence. Alright, so basically Sahitya Academy, we know it is an autonomous organization under Ministry of Culture. It was established in 1950 something, as far as I can recall, maybe 1952. But the most important point is it is not established recently. It is established in 1950s. It is an autonomous body under Ministry of Culture, and it do what? It provides awards in 23 languages. I mean, it has given awards in 23 languages on the 17th of December. So what we have understood from this point is that the Sahitya Academy Awards are not given just in the schedule, just for the schedule 8th language, because in schedule 8 we have almost 22 languages. Exactly 22 languages. It is not almost. Schedule 8 of the Constitution of India has 22 languages. But because 23 languages are written here, that make us say that if a statement comes wherein it has been categorically asked as if Sahitya Academy announces the awards for the 8th schedule languages only, then that would be wrong, because clearly English is not a language in the 8th schedule, but Sahitya Academy Awards are given for English also, because we know Dr. Shashi Tharoor has been also provided this very award for his work that he did in English language, of course. So this is it. Further, what all are the books that were given this award? So we have poetry, novel, short stories, essays. Stories could be fiction, non-fiction. We don't have any fiction thing here. Stories could be non-fiction, autobiography or biography. So this is important. I mean, a tricky question too can be asked. It could be only for the poetry, novel, etc. But clearly essays too are included here. Short stories are also. Short stories comprises of essays, non-fiction, autobiography and biography basically. Poetry too is included, and novel as well. Further, selection could either be unanimous or through majority vote, and also work done prior to 5 years from the announcement of the award is taken into consideration. So it has been clearly written here, the award relate to books first published during the 5 years immediately preceding the year of award. This is it. So if one is given award in the year 2017, then she or he must have done work from any time from 2013 to 2017. What exactly is to be awarded here? It basically has an engraved copper plate, a shawl and 1 lakh rupees. So this is it. We are done with the 15, 16 and 17 December of PIB. Also with regard to the PIB dated 14th of December, wherein I talked about the ministry undertaking the national economic census, there was one point about the types of ownership. So basically here we just have to understand that since we're talking about the national economic census, so economics word is important. We are not supposed to go into the societal aspects of all these surveys. National economic census entails lot of things, but I'll be keeping myself limited to explaining the type of ownership only. So type of ownership could be anything, could be private or government. Among private also it could be sole proprietorship, that means one person is the owner, or it could be a partnership, lot of private people are coming together to form an entity. It could be society or cooperative, it could be self-help group, it could be private corporate sector establishment, it could be club, trust, association. So broad idea is type of ownership entails this, and not the what exactly is the caste based ownership or the gender based ownership. Alright, further amongst the private sector we looked into all these things. Now among government entity, it could be government company or public sector corporation or autonomous bodies or anything like quasi-government institution, local bodies. So this is it. Also it is not very important because we really can't go into detail of these things, but just to be not leaving out anything, I have explained it, and either way I'll be attaching the document onto the description box. I'll be giving the link of this very document, so any of you who is interested into going into detail of each and everything, like what exactly is the type of ownership, what exactly is the nature of operation, or what entails the urban entity or rural entity, so you can read this thing on your own. So that's it. So we are done with the 15, 16, 17 December of PIB. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.